My mother-in-law didn't just control my life, she slowly erased it. But one day, I made sure she felt every rule she ever forced on me. My name is Sophia. I am 26 years old, and I have always believed in living a successful, independent, and freedom-filled life. Before marriage, I was confident, full of dreams, and used to making my own decisions without anyone controlling me. When I got married, I entered that house with hope in my heart. I believed marriage meant a new beginning, a new family, and maybe even a mother figure who would guide me. I was wrong. The very first morning after my wedding, before I even understood where things were in the kitchen, I heard a sharp voice. "Wake up. It's already morning. Don't act like you're still in your father's house." I quickly got up, adjusting my clothes, trying to smile, trying to impress. I didn't want misunderstandings in a new home. But that smile didn't last long. Before I could even drink water, she started giving instructions. "This house runs on discipline. No one sits idle here." I nodded. I thought maybe she was just strict. But that strictness never ended. Days turned into weeks, and my life turned into a cycle I never agreed to. Wake up early, clean, cook, wash. No rest. No freedom. If I ever sat for even a few minutes, her eyes would find me. "Why are you sitting? Do you think this is your vacation home?" The worst part wasn't the work. It was how invisible I became. I wasn't asked how I felt. I wasn't asked if I was tired. I was only expected to obey. Even my small happiness was controlled. One evening, my husband came home early and softly said, "Let's go out for dinner, just the two of us." For the first time in days, I felt something light inside me. Hope. I quickly got ready. It felt like I was finally being seen. But as always, before we could leave, she appeared in the hallway. "Where are you both going?" My husband answered carefully, "Just for dinner, we'll be back soon." She looked at me directly. "And who will take care of this house? Or have you forgotten your responsibilities already?" I stayed silent, waiting for my husband to speak. But he didn't. Instead, he said, "Maybe we can go some other time." That some other time never came. That night, I couldn't sleep. I just stared at the ceiling, realizing something painful. I wasn't living my life. I was living her rules. Days passed like that. And slowly, I stopped expecting kindness. I stopped expecting freedom. But something inside me didn't break completely. It changed. Not loudly, not suddenly, but quietly. I stopped reacting. I stopped arguing. I stopped showing emotion. And instead I started observing. Every rule she made, I memorized it. Every word she used, I remembered it. Every control she imposed, I studied it. Because I realized something. If she could control me with rules, I could control the rules. That was the beginning of my silence. At night, when the house slept, I stayed awake. Not crying anymore. Not complaining anymore. I started learning. I explored small business ideas, home-based work, and slowly I began something secretly, selling homemade food online. At first, it was just one order, then another. Then slowly word spread. But I never told them. I lived two lives in one house. In the morning, I was the obedient daughter-in-law. At night, I was building my escape. I was exhausted, but for the first time, that exhaustion felt meaningful. Months passed, and my small work started growing. Orders increased. Customers appreciated my food. I started earning more than I expected. But I stayed quiet, because I was waiting for the right moment. One afternoon, my mother-in-law was sitting in the living room, proudly saying to a relative over the phone, "This house runs because of me. Without me, nothing works here." I was standing near the kitchen door when I heard that. I didn't react. I just smiled slightly, because she had no idea how wrong she was. Then one day, everything changed. My husband lost his job. The house that once felt controlled suddenly felt unstable. And for the first time, I saw panic on her face. Bills were due. Money was tight. Pride was breaking. That's when I decided the time had come. Not for anger, for truth. I walked into the room where they both were sitting and said calmly, "I can handle the house expenses." They both looked at me like I had spoken a different language. She laughed slightly. I didn't answer with words. I simply opened my phone and showed them everything. Orders, payments, customer messages, earnings, savings. The room went silent. My husband stared at the screen, confused, shocked, almost ashamed. And my mother-in-law, the woman who always had something to say, had nothing. For the first time in that house, she was silent. From that day, the power shifted. Not suddenly, but permanently. I started managing everything. Expenses, kitchen, timing, decisions. The house that once followed her voice started following mine. And I made sure she felt it. Not cruelly, but clearly. One afternoon, she walked into the kitchen and said, "I'm tired. I'll rest for a while." I looked at her calmly and replied, "Rest? But didn't you say good women don't sit idle?" She froze, because those were her exact words. For the first time, she understood how they felt. Days passed like that. I didn't shout. I didn't insult. I didn't create chaos. I simply gave her back her own world, exactly the way she built it. Same rules, same tone, same silence. And slowly, she began to change. The sharpness in her voice faded. The control in her eyes weakened. One evening, she came and sat quietly beside me. Her voice was no longer strong. "I didn't realize it felt this hard," she said softly. I looked at her for a long moment. Not with hatred, not with victory, but with understanding. And I said, "Exactly. That was my revenge. Not destruction. Not revenge through anger, but reflection. Because I didn't need to break her. I just needed to show her the life she once gave me. And when she finally saw it, she couldn't handle it. Because the rules she created became the same walls she got trapped inside. And this time, I wasn't the one trapped anymore. I was the one holding the key." Do you think I was right to give her a taste of her own rules? Or should I have chosen a different path? If you were in my place, would you have stayed silent or fought back sooner? Illustrate me your thoughts in comments. Marriage is the beginning of a new life, a home filled with love, respect, and belonging. But not every home feels like a sanctuary. Some feel like silent cages, where smiles fade, voices shrink, and identity slowly disappears. This is not just a story about a difficult mother-in-law. It's about control, silence, and the quiet power of reclaiming yourself. Every human should have equal rights to live with freedom, happiness, and from the heart. Every person in this temporary world plays their role as a mother, daughter, sister, brother, or father. I believe no one should stop them from living freely. However, if elders stop you from doing something, you should listen to them sometimes, not ignore them every time. They usually think better for you.